Hey guys, this is the Revolutionary Male, and my name is Alex. I'm back yet again with another article from my favorite author, the one I love to hate or hate to love, maybe, Gemma Hartley. Gemma likes to write about emotional labor, and I've already dissected a couple of her articles, and I found yet another one that seems very amusing to me, and I'm going to go ahead and read it for you guys. Now, Gemma likes to apply the concept of emotional labor to personal relationships. And it doesn't actually apply. She doesn't seem to understand what emotional labor really is. Emotional labor has to deal with the workplace and the psychological or the emotional regulation that workers do in the workplace to meet their clients' needs. So if a customer comes in and is unhappy and they're screaming and yelling at you, you regulate your emotions so that you can handle the situation without expressing the fact that you want to rip that person's face off or something. That's essentially what emotional labor is, put it simply. But let's deal with the article at hand here. The cure for Mother's Day disappointment shouldn't be lower expectations, so this should be good. By Gemma Hartley, May 10th, 2019. My first few Mother's Days after having kids were pretty rough. Interesting. I wanted, essentially, to be given a quote-unquote break from being a mom. I wanted my partner to take on the mental load. I don't know how this person believes it is possible for one person to take on the mental load of another. But okay. I wanted some time alone. I wanted housework to get done without my delegation. I wanted the peace I never got because motherhood is so constant. It is supposed to be the one day of the year when the tables turn and I get to be taken care of for a change, right? Let's remember, this is her job. Her job is to be a stay-at-home mother. She's a freelance writer, and her husband makes most of the money, or at least did before she wrote her book. So this was her job. This was her full-time job, taking care of her family. And I understand on Mother's Day or Father's Day, the appropriate parent having time to themselves, to rest, to do whatever it is that they want, fair enough. But from everything I've read by her so far, she just sounds like a narcissist. But that's just me. Anyway, that was never what happened. Year after year, I found myself dealing with my children's tantrums, planning my own gift, and becoming frustrated with the housework that wasn't getting done because I wasn't doing it. Wow. Okay, she's so damn controlling. My mood would sour at every perceived slight. Interesting. The quote-unquote special breakfast dishes that lingered in the sink, the messes my kids left behind, the whining and fighting between toddler and preschooler, the normal requests for snacks and milk. Can't you ask your dad just this once? No, they can't. You know why? Because children are children. And they're not going to be able to recognize that one day out of the year is the one day that mommy is not doing her job. It's difficult for them to think that way. They're kids. And God forbid if the dishes don't get cleaned within 20 minutes of the breakfast having been eaten. Is it possible to please this woman? Jesus. She gets upset over the most trivial things. My husband's grooming products left out on our shared vanity. Jesus, woman. Each offense would leave me disproportionately angry. Even she recognizes that this is disproportionate. Her emotional response is disproportionate. This woman just wants other people to manage her emotions for her. Men, listen to me. This is what a lot of women are like now. And we have to learn to recognize it so that we don't get trapped in relationships with women like this where we have children with them. We have to learn to spot these women. By the end of Mother's Day, I would find myself more emotionally worn out than I would have been on any normal Sunday. That's your problem, woman. It wasn't that the day was particularly hard compared to most, but that my expectations for Mother's Day were different. I wanted my entire load lifted for the day, and I was lucky to get a fraction of that. Well, boo friggin' who. Welcome to life. Welcome to parenthood. And it's not even clear from what she's writing that she ever actually expressed this concretely to her husband and children. Because, I believe the first article I read from her, Women Aren't Nags, she explicitly states that she finds it near impossible to communicate her feelings honestly and openly to her husband. So she's creating these problems for herself. I eventually decided I was going to evade disappointment by lowering my expectations for Mother's Day. Sounds like a smart idea. I began expecting a really difficult day, a day where everything would fall to me, as per usual. A day when I would need extra patience with all those around me. This woman, holy God. She sounds like a miserable person. Who would want to be around this person? The mind trick worked for a couple of years. I had happy-ish Mother Days. Happy-ish Mother's Days. Okay. Because I eliminated any hopeful expectations. I was able to see the bright and special moments that I lost in my resentment in previous years. It didn't feel particularly celebratory, but Mother's Day was now a slight improvement over the average Sunday. Pardon me. I felt appreciation for my husband cooking me breakfast, for my kids planting flowers with me in the yard, for the little gifts and any housework that got done without my guidance. That sounds like the actual response of an emotionally mature adult. That's good. I was simply expecting too much, I told myself. That was the problem with Mother's Day. On the surface, this seemed true, because with my expectations quelled, my resentment over everyday inequalities remained buried. They're not everyday inequalities. She's a home. Why do I always have the difficulty remembering this term? Not housekeeper, not home worker. What the heck is it called? She's a homemaker. She's a homemaker. That's her job. Her husband goes out into the world and makes a living to pay for everything. Her job as a freelance writer, and which for most of what her life seemed to be, according to her first article that I read, didn't pay for much. So her full-time job was being a mother and homemaker. That's not an inequality. I didn't have to look at the root issue if I simply treated the symptoms. But the truth is, my expectations really weren't the problem. The problem was that I felt like I was taking care of everyone else all the time, and that I would never, ever get a break. The problem was that in asking my husband to be me for a day, that's unfair. You can't ask your husband to be you. See the way that's framed? That's framed in the most selfish, self-obsessed way imaginable. You can't ask somebody else to be you. That's not fair. Jesus. I was asking for something inherently unfair. The problem was that in asking my husband to be me for a day, I was asking for something inherently unfair. Yes, you were. I was asking to invert a burdensome workload that was making me crack beneath the pressure. My days consisted of exhausting myself with emotional and domestic labor until I had absolutely nothing left. Welcome to parenthood. Welcome to motherhood. Welcome to being an adult, taking care of themselves and other people. That's what it's like. I felt like I had no time, no focus, no mental space, and no emotional energy at the end of each day. Honestly, this sounds like a woman who's just bitter and angry that she made the wrong choice in her life. She didn't actually want, or she thought she would enjoy this. She thought being a mother and homemaker was going to be the job for her, and apparently it's not. And she can't stand it. So instead of taking responsibility for the fact that life's about trade-offs and she didn't make the right choices, she's going to punish everybody else in her entire family. And not only that, now that she can make a living writing about this crap, she's going to punish as many men as humanly possible too. One Mother's Day, the whole facade came crashing down. After my husband failed to get me the cleaning service I had requested as a gift, that's the first article I read of hers, he said it was too much work to call around, get quotes, get recommendations, fit it into the schedule and budget, do the things I would normally squeeze into my schedule. No, that's your schedule, woman. That's what your schedule was. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that your job was the financial planner, the homemaker, the person whose job was to do these things, and then claim that you don't have the time to do your job. That's not how this works. He left me to care for our 3 children while he cleaned the bathrooms as, quote unquote, my gift. I spent the day catering to everyone around me in a way that felt more intense than normal. Yes, because that's what you're doing to yourself. This is all you. This is all you. Nobody can make you happy, so you're going to make everyone miserable. When I stumbled over the gift wrap box my husband had left in the middle of our closet, it was the final straw. I didn't want to ask him to put away the item he had gotten out in the first place. I didn't want to mind trick my way through another Mother's Day. What I really wanted was a partner who was doing his share, not just on Mother's Day, every day. You see the way this woman talks about her husband in public? This woman has never had a genuinely nice thing to say about her husband in anything I've ever read. I don't know how he puts up with her, honestly. What she wants is a man who reads her mind and is essentially her slave. That's what it sounds like to me. The problem with Mother's Day isn't that women want too much, but that we're expected not to want anything at all the other 364 days of the year. Many women feel as if Mother's Day is the only day of the year they can truly express their needs, or, even more powerfully, their wants, which mothers are not supposed to have. That's absurd. That's just absurd. Does this woman have any idea how actual relationships are supposed to exist? Because the fact that she believes this and that a lot of other women believe this, that's a real problem. That is a real problem. Because there's a bunch of bitter, resentful, and angry women out there who are not telling the truth about how they feel. To their husbands and their families, the people in their lives they're supposed to be able to be most honest with. Jeez. Yet even in making the smallest push for a day's worth of equality, oh man, oh my God. Okay. Hang in there, pal. They are often left wanting. To a certain extent, we can change our attitude to make the inequities in our relationships bearable, but that doesn't change the inequity itself. Expecting less is not a real solution. It's simply a way to mask the problem. Moms need partners who pull their weight all the time, not just on one special day. Men can notice when the laundry needs to be folded or take over the bedtime routine. They can do it without their partners asking, and better yet, without asking their partners for praise like it's extra credit work, like it's not their job. Good God, if you're a stay-at-home mother whose full-time job is to do the laundry, to fulfill the bedtime routine, make dinner, because that's your full-time job while your husband has his own full-time job, then that's extra work coming home and doing that. Now, I'm not saying men shouldn't, and I'm not saying if the situation were reversed that women shouldn't help their husbands in those situations. Of course they should. But this is not about inequality. This is about a frickin' narcissist who wants everything done her way for her and doesn't want to actually ever have to thank anyone for helping her. And doesn't want to ever have to ask either. This is crazy. Maybe if we know the dishes will be done before we get up, that homemade breakfast in bed will actually be a good Mother's Day treat after all. Are you kidding me? This woman will punish her husband because he made her breakfast in bed on Mother's Day, fed it to her in her bedroom while she's in bed, because when she got out of bed, the dishes were not cleaned. So everything he did up until that moment is meaningless to her. That's what she just said. Don't you see how crazy this is? I hope it's clear. Wow. I want us to have a celebratory Mother's Day, one where we truly feel appreciated and seen for the work that we do. In order to have that, we need partners who not only recognize our daily efforts, but whom step up to meet us where we are, who understand that emotional labor is their job too. Maybe if we know the dishes will be done before we get up, that homemade breakfast in bed will actually be a good Mother's Day treat after all. That's what she's saying. That's insane. But first, we need to address how we culturally view Mother's Day as the singular exceptional day when women can expect men, their partners, to take on emotional labor. Good God. We really need to examine, I want to really get into this performance. We really need to examine why motherhood, as opposed to fatherhood, is so mentally and emotionally taxing. What? Motherhood is not more emotionally taxing than fatherhood. You're a narcissist. You have the emotional maturity of a toddler. That's the problem here, Gemma. We take a celebratory day and turn it into a desperate effort to get a break. But we need to look at how the imbalance of emotional labor is what is breaking us in the first place. I just had this thought. This woman has made an entire career over the fact that she's upset in her own romantic relationship. This woman has taken the fact that she doesn't like the way her husband does Mother's Day for her and turned it into a career writing books and making speeches. How self-involved could you possibly be? That's amazing that it didn't occur to me before. Wow. You really believe you're the center of the frickin' universe, don't you, Gemma? Wow. That's an impressive level of narcissistic behavior. Instead of looking to the past and congratulating men... let me get back into my performance. Instead of looking to the past and congratulating men on how far they've come, God forbid they do that, it's time for our partners to look at the imbalances we face here and now. Yes, avoid the actual progress that's been made. Ignore everything that men have done to meet these unrealistic demands. That's really going to foster continued solidarity and working together and all this wonderful stuff that you're trying to actually accomplish. Why are women still telling men what needs to be done or faced with the prospect of doing everything themselves? This woman has really turned the fact that she wants her husband to read her mind into a war against the patriarchy. This is stunning. This is stunning. Wow. Why are women pressured to show endless gratitude for partners who do only a portion of the domestic and emotional labor we do constantly and thanklessly? Why can't we? Why shouldn't we ask for more? You don't seem to have a problem doing that. It seems, in fact, to be endless. We may have been culturally conditioned into these separate, heteronormative spheres regarding emotional labor, but that doesn't mean we cannot grow beyond the norms that no longer serve us, if they ever did. We need to start rethinking what equity really means, not in relation to the past, but in relation to one another. We need men who show up for their lives so women can start fully living theirs. Yes, yes, because men are oppressing women when they are incapable of reading their minds. The day that our husbands learn to read the minds of their wives will be the day that the patriarchy has finally been destroyed, women have finally earned true equality, and the world will be better for it. What a freaking joke. What a joke. Jesus. That's the end of the article, fellas. Hit the like button if you liked it. Hit the dislike button if you disliked it. Fair enough. Leave a comment, subscribe, and if you have any questions or concerns, go ahead and send me an email at therevolutionarymail.com. I appreciate any thoughts and feelings you have to share. And I will see you next time.